happy Saturday to you. Thanks for joining us. And if you're brand new to watching this show, big warm welcome to you. This show's all about kind of synthy, sort of geeky music technology stuff. And, you know, we kind of cover a whole bunch of topics. This topic this week is we're going to be talking about gear that's flopped. In other words, gear that's failed in the industry or in your eyes or whatever. Kind of an interesting topic. We'll see where it goes. I've got a few examples and I want you guys to join in if you're in the chat as well. We'll get to that a bit later. We have a few regular segments that we run. We've got Funny Side, we've got some news to cover, and we also have a price watch scamming sort of eBay thing that we do every week as well, which is pretty cool. But not to mention, we also have some awesome people who join us. And I'd like to introduce you first to Darren. Big hello to you, matey.
Hello.
How's
Hope
your
you're all
week
doing
been?
well. And so are you? Not been too bad. Not been too bad. Very warm though. Very warm.
Fantastic.
Almost cooking in this place.
Fantastic. And Darren's been busy this week. We'll get to that a bit later, but we've got something exciting to show you guys, and Darren will definitely give you a big plug for that a bit later. But it's awesome. All right, and we'll move on to the next person, Andy. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hi everybody.
How's your week been?
All right. I've obviously been. I'm having to go back into work a couple of times a week now, which has been a lot of fun. And the weather. I chatted about this a bit earlier, but it's just unbearable. When the UK gets much above 25, it really becomes very unpleasant, and I haven't had a good time. I've not had a lot of sleep, not felt very, very good with it. So I'm actually quite glad that the temperature's dropped again now to something sensible. It's not nice in the UK when it gets really hot. At least that's my opinion. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. And sneaking in just in time is Berg. How are you, mate? Hey.
Hey guys, I'm great. A few minutes ago, I wasn't too great. Had a lot of problems with my computer, studio machine. You know how it is, right? You plug it in and it just doesn't boot up. It doesn't start. You plug everything out, you plug everything in, and it doesn't still boot up. You keep on fixing it for like an hour, and you just plug it up, plug it back exact way that it was in the beginning, and then it just starts up. I'm like, I didn't change anything. Now it just works. I'm like, I'm lost for words. I'm a little bit stressed out.
Yeah.
So apologies for that, but we can talk more about that later.
No need to apologize. Not at all.
Other than that, I'm good. Thanks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now,
Yeah.
I have to fix, while we're doing that, I've got, we'll go to this view, which is all four of us, and I just need to fix your little corner up. So just give me a sec. We have to zoom, yes. Something like that, and this is all just a bit of guesstimates here. Pan up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not too bad. Maybe one more little click there, and wrong way. That'll do. I reckon that's good enough. All right, so we're all here. Fantastic. Now, we can't forget there's another bunch of people that are here on the show as well, and that's called the Chatties. Can't forget you guys. Big warm welcome to all of you, and we'll quickly go through and say hi to everyone. Michael Elliott's here, Inverted Popes, Asia Head Wagoo, Sonic Neutronic, Triple Eight Berg, Michael B. Who else is there? I'm pretty sure I saw Finn before, and I saw Sergio before. I'm just trying to do this off memory. And who else did I see? I saw Mr. Mac there. I saw John Cuba, John Shea. Who else?
There's a new name, Snickle Fritz McJame. That's great. What a name that is.
I haven't seen that one yet. Anyway, Michael B. Triple 8. I think I said that. If I've missed you, Snickle Fritz McJame. That's awesome. Hi, big hello to you. Obviously, new to the channel, so stick around and hopefully we entertain you a little bit, or not. Please don't get too disappointed. All right, let's. Speaking of disappointing you, let's start off with the first segment, which is supposed to be funny. Yes, you have reached the end of the internet where apparently stranger things can happen. And in this segment, we troll the internet for funny things, synth related or synthy music tech related. Anyway, Andy's been busy helping out this week, and you will see a couple of submissions in the Price Watch a bit later from that, and also in the sort of segment that we've got, which is the topic of gear that's flopped. But starting with memes, let's have a look at the first one. Yes, that's right. If you're reading manuals, you might want to ask someone on a synth forum or Facebook, because that's what we all do, don't we? We don't read manuals, so just throw them over the back of our shoulder like that. Oh dear. And obviously, it's good having him as our representative of that, isn't it? That really works.
Who do you think him is?
Well, I'm going to leave that up to you. See if anyone in the chat can guess. I'll just quickly pop it back up again. Who reckons they know who that is?
Yeah, I do. At least I think I do.
Okay. Well, it's very relevant. Put it that way, isn't it, Andy?
Is it? I think it's Samuel Johnson. Who do you think it is?
You do not. You do not. Right. Okay. Let's go on to this one. This one is pretty much what happens every day in our relationship conversations. So yeah, you were just talking about synths the whole day. What do you want me to talk about? Or I don't know. What about love? Okay, I love synths. So that relationship's going to last, isn't it? Not. We'll keep going. Oh, I like this one. This was clever. This was clever. So someone's gone into a Facebook group and asked, "Can you use Cubase as a plugin in Logic?" And Jackie Chan's like, "What?" Brilliant. Anyway, these sort of things make us happy every day when we have to answer questions like this. All right, last but not least, let's click on this here. So this is the vicious circle. You meet someone, you talk, you tell them, actually, it's not paraphonic, it's polyphonic, and then they leave. And when I saw this, I thought, I actually thought straight away of Mark Doty. If Mark's watching, get a big hello to you, mate. In fact, that's probably not actually even correct. Anyway, that is the funny side for the week. Anyone had a favourite of that one?
The last one.
The last one? The cycle?
The last one.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
vicious cycle? Yeah.
Really, because nobody has a clue really which word to use for any of it, really.
Has anyone ever had a conversation like that? Where they've actually had to correct someone? Or is that a little bit too nerdy of a conversation?
Yeah, who knows which one's actually right and which one's wrong? I mean, you could listen to Art Doty about it. There's plenty of people who don't agree with him, and he's actually really supposed to be quite clear about it.
Well, you can watch Mark Doty's videos. He actually explains it very well, and I think he actually explains it quite well, actually. Anyway, we won't start opening the can of worms for that conversation. Let's go on to the next segment. We have some news. Here we go. And first off the rank, and if you haven't been watching anything on YouTube or the internet in the last 48 hours or 24 hours, this is actually an awesome bit of kit that's just come out from Dreadbox, the Typhon, which is actually really, really cool. And when I saw this, I kind of thought to myself, it's been done, but not this way. So it's kind of innovative. And when I say innovative, it's innovative in a way where you're going to feel like you're kind of performing more. And I like the way it's kind of laid out. Anyway, it's a cool little synth, if you're wondering. It's a combination of some nice, well thought out features. For example, it's an analog mono synth, and it's got digital effects. And the digital effects are kind of on the right hand side, and obviously the analog synth's on the left. But what makes the analog synth a little bit cooler is this big fat knob in the middle that you've got there, the big kind of wave shapey sort of thing. And it morphs between different oscillator sort of configurations like pulse width, mod, FM. It's got 2 oscillators and 4-pole low-pass filter. There's a little bit lacking on the filter side. It does sound beautiful though, the filter. You'll hear that in a sec. It's got lots of modulation options. 3 of them, I think, with 4 different modes: LFO, envelope generators, randomizing, step sequencer. Plus, it actually has this built-in effects. Now, we mentioned these guys a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about something else. It's by a company called Cinevibes, and they've done all the digital effects for this. So let's have a look at the video, see if we can get this thing to work. Okay. No, is this an ad? No.
Ooh, Murmux. I'd like one of those.
Yeah, you have to skip it a few, go on for a bit.
There's the roadie helping out. Stupid dog. That's right, not just another synthesizer. And like I said, if you live under a rock, you probably haven't heard of that. But now you have. So, a little bit about it. €349, and I believe it's available nowish, so you can put your orders in. So there you go. Let's go back to here. Anyone want to make a comment about that? Who's seen this and had a bit of a listen? There's been a few videos out. Nick's done his Friday Funny. Yeah, Darren, do you want to go first?
Yeah.
I seen this as soon as it came out, and it's Dreadbox, so I want one.
Yep. Same here. It's brilliant, isn't it? What did you like about it? What sort of attracted you to it?
I like the way they've combined it into all this, because everything's going to a small, like, little desktop units now, aren't they? And it's sort of like got that Dreadbox analog, real nice sound, and then they've got, like you say, Soundabytes have done all the digital, because I think they work with Korg as well, didn't they, on the XD and stuff. So it's got that type of stuff in there as well. So all that in a small box, portable. I mean, you can't. It's brilliant. Go well with the circuit.
€349. Is that a decent price, do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
I would say yeah, because when you think about the analog, like the Erebus and things, they're like 450. I know they're a big analog type, 3 oscillator synth type, but yeah, I think it's about right. It's in their price brackets of their synths.
Yeah, it's kind of in tune with the rest. Who else wants to have a little comment about that one?
I'll jump in then.
Yeah.
I saw the Nick Bat video, but I didn't see this. That's the first time I've seen that, and I think that's one of the best sort of marketing videos I've seen in ages.
It's good, isn't
that
it?
would just make everyone want to run out and buy it. It was so funny, a great sense of humour, and of course it actually sounded fabulous. I mean, Dreadbox gear always does, and yeah, 349. That's a great price. That really is good. Very interested in that. I quite like some of these quirky, odd bits of gear that are coming out now.
Oh,
And
they make some really good stuff.
I don't know if you when that Murmux 2 actually came out. I mean, it's about three or so years ago now, and it was on a very limited run. A guy called Prognosis did an absolutely awesome video on that, and it made it almost like the synth I wanted to own. I really, really lusted after one of those, and I still sort of burn a little candle in my heart for one. But you know, they're expensive. But the little that little box there, great,
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic.
Not very big either. Like when we say little, it is actually quite little. So it's not going to take up a lot of your desk space. Berg, did you want to have a quick word, or should we?
Yeah, I just saw the ad, so I didn't really figure out what it does. Is it a monosynth with 3 voices? What is it?
2-voice monosynth.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
already
got
had the
digital
Erebus.
effects.
I had the Mark One. Oh,
Yep.
digital effects. Okay, I already have the Erebus. I had the Mark One, and now I also got the Mark Two. Switched that because I missed the filter in that puppy. It's one of my favorite things with the Erebus. Actually, if the filter not even similar to what's in the Erebus, I would. It's probably a no-brainer, right? But I haven't read in on the specs really, so I can't comment on that. But I like the form factor. It looks really neat, and if it's power, which I assume it is, that's also pretty cool, right? So
Yeah. You got a bit. You
can't
got a
say
bit of
that
space
much because I didn't see the. Yeah, I do. a little bit.
Awesome.
There are some gaps.
Yes. Well, we were talking about Prognosis. He's one of the guys that originally starts opening a beer when he does his video. I love how he
Some beer.
starts his. Yeah, he always talks about the beer. I think when he first started doing his videos, I think he lived in Germany at the time. So you can tell I've been
He's
watching his
still- he's back
videos for a
there now,
while.
I think.
I think he lives back in the US now. If you're watching, matey, good to talk to you. Jump into chat if you say hi. Rightio. Let's get back to
Before you jump on, Rance, can I just say
Yeah.
a real big hello to Ollie Berg. Sort of followed his videos for since I first got onto YouTube and really loved it. I mean, if there's a guy who's been sort of an inspiration for giving us a kickstart into all this stuff again, it's Mr. Berg, definitely. I absolutely love what he does. It's fascinating. And the video he did where he broke down the tracks and each individual bit, it was just like, oh, this is what we need. I wish there was more of that. So a massive big thank you to the man. He's been a big push for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so they've got it off my chest now.
Thank you, Andy.
We're lucky to have
Thank
you.
you. Beautiful.
We're lucky to have
You're
you.
welcome, fella.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. Cheers.
Fantastic. All right. Are we go back? We good to go back? Okay, cool. Next off the ranks. You know I love my DIY things. That's all right. You don't have to apologise. Spherical Sound Society is, if you've got a problem with S's, and that's going to be a good one to say, Opera Rotus. It's another cool DIY project, which I think it's a Tindy one again. I think the last Tindy one we showed was a couple of weeks ago. But this one's an FM drum machine, so kind of along the lines of the Electron one that they brought out recently, but different. This has got 2 operators. There is a YouTube video, so before we talk about anything more, why don't we just watch the YouTube video? I don't know how good this video is because I actually haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Very melodic. I'll just skip a bit so we can hear some different sounds. Anyway, that is the Opera Rotus by Spherical Sound Society. And if you want to know the price of this, now, I got in trouble last time I was talking about Tindy things. So just be careful when I tell you the price. It may not be the full kit, it might be just the PCB or something like that. So just be careful when you're getting these things. But the price that I've got on the information that I've seen on the website is at 61.99 euros, and it might just be for the PCB, and you might have to order your own knobs and things like that. I don't know. You need to go check it out anyway. There will be a link in the description of the video after the video is posted up, so you can go check that out. It is a Tindy, like I said. Anyway, quick thoughts from you gentlemen. Anyone want to make a comment about the Opera Rotas?
I think
I
it
think Darren should have to say, because
it's like
We'll go with Berg.
yeah, go ahead.
Go Berg.
I think it sounds awesome. I think it sounds awesome. It's one of those little blippy boxes. So is this full on the DIY, or do you have to make it yourself, or can you buy it pre-built? Because I'm not a good builder myself.
Yeah, it's a Tindy project, so you will have to build it, but you could probably ask them to build it for you, and I'm sure there'd be just a fee for that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of those. Wait a minute. Oh, here. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This is the prototype of the Roland A1, I think it was.
Oh,
a
yes.
Japanese guy who built together with Roland. Sent me this
8-bitty thing.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of reminds me a little bit, the form factor, having the PCB and everything visible. Yeah. And this is super limited, and I'm assuming that box is as well. And I like working with these small, tiny devices that don't have a lot of complex features, but they have a very specific sound to themselves, right? So, but use limitation to its advantage is really what I like with these tiny little instruments. So I like to have, loads and loads of those. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to do anything lately, but I kind of like the idea of this, the strings, if you will. And that to me is kind of a fun thing. Because not only the limitation of the instrument, but also work if it's like SID sounds, or it's not like standard synth, if it's like 8-bit or 12-bit. So you gotta get a little bit of more sound, right? So I like the idea of that. You said this will be available as a DI. You can buy it pre-built as well.
It's a Tindy.
That's the
Tindy projects. I don't know if you've ever seen them before.
Tindy projects.
Yeah, there's a website.
No, I never done.
Full of all sorts of projects in there.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, link will be after the video. You can go check it out.
Awesome.
Darren or Andy, you want to make a quick comment about the Opera Rotas?
Well, I was actually going to say, I watched the video from beginning to end, and I was thinking that, it sounds really interesting, but there's other bits and bobs out there that sound and do similar things, particularly if you're into your Eurorack, Darren, because there's the Basimilus things do something like it. The Basimilus Iteritas Alta does something like it. But also, I seem to remember Darren's got an Acme's Castle, which I think is very much along those lines, except that the Acme's Castle always seems to sound really great. So I was wondering what Darren's take on that would be, because I think he had. Correct me if I'm wrong, don't you have one of those?
I've got a Acme's Castle. Yeah, it's Acme's Castle's basically a Yamaha DX. It's got the same chips that the FM Synth used in the Yamaha back in the 80s, early 90s. I don't know. It sounds quite cute, but I just have this issue with building your own, because I'm not one for building things. So I suppose if they do pre-built ones, I think people might buy them more, or unless it's just for the dedicated builders out there, like Rans.
I just about spat my beer out then. Oh dear. Giving me way too much credit.
I think that Darren has a point. I think
he does.
Just adding to that, I think Darren has a point, right? Because there's a lot of builders out there, DIY, and if you can get the option to get it pre-built as well, and my thumb in my middle hand, right, in the middle of my hand, so I can't do soldering. I have this company in the UK, I think, Pusherman, that builds modules for Eurorack that I buy stuff, from regularly.
Yes.
And having that option of getting pre-built, helps guys like me to get this up and running. So
Pusherman's
I love that option.
Yep, Pusherman's awesome.
Yeah,
thoroughly recommend him.
Love those guys.
Plum Audio is another one. They're awesome. I actually have a Pusher Man module here that I've got to build, which I've shown you guys before. We don't need to go on it. Anyway, we need to roll on because we've got more. We have more. Yes, this one. I actually haven't really talked about this before. I've known about this for a while. This is actually a synth. It's called Osmose. It's by a company called Expressive E. The reason why this is supposed to be kind of something that was, it's been around for a while. They've been talking about this for a while. It's going to be quite an expressive synthesizer, which is kind of why I wanted to show it. It's anyway. Let's watch the video because you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about.
It's got the Touche background.
Yeah. All right. Let's just have a quick look at this. Only goes for a couple of minutes, but we won't watch the whole thing. You guys get the idea. So you can see him moving his hands up and down the keys. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very expressive synthesizer. It's got it's kind of three-dimensional the way it works. So you've got down movement, you've got velocity, you've got aftertouch, and you've got up and down sliding movements as well. And you can also wiggle the keys as well. So it's kind of, it's really quite, which is why they call it Expressive E. It's quite expressive. Anyone seen this before?
Yeah, I've seen this because I've got a Touche. I always get the early information on it. I think what they've basically done is they've made each key like a little mini Touche.
Yeah.
Because it works in a very, very much similar way, and they're using the same type of like the rubber, like they're not sponges, but like the rubber to make the keys move and to touch. And it's like they've done that on every single key, so it's like having a Touche on every single key. So I can see it being really nice. If it's anything like the Touche, yeah, it'll be really nice, but well out my price range.
It is. Do you guys want to know the price? So the price I have listed is
how much is it?
$1,799 US or euros. So it is. Don't forget, it is a synthesizer too. So it has patches. It's digital. It uses MPE. So it's like Darren said, it's the same kind of format as the Touche with the expressiveness of it. But yeah, you probably want to go and check it out. Don't gulp too much on the price, because I do believe if you pre-order, they're going to take a chunk off of that. I don't know if $17.99 is their MSRP, and then if you pre-order, I think Wagoo knows a little bit about it. He's in the chat room now, so he might, he might be able to shed some light on that. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's, I actually, because Darren's big fan of the Touche. I actually think this company's going places. So it's been around in the pipeline for a while now. That one.
Is there anybody who's a keyboard player who hasn't done when they're playing the keyboard, who hasn't done the old classic finger wiggle like your finger on the guitar fretboard or your violin? Well, I think we've all done it, and because it does absolutely nothing. And actually to have a,
You'll like that,
machine
Andy.
which actually say again. What did he say, Darren?
I said you'll like it then, if you'll like that keyboard then.
It was announced a while ago. I don't know if it was at Superbooth last year or something like that, but it's definitely been around. The idea of it's been around for a while, and I think if you are a keyboard player with any sort of ability, something like that is going to be right up your street. I mean, I thought, oh yeah, that's all very much me. Well, I like the idea of that a lot. I mean, I know there's things like the Rollies, which is similar, which have got a similar sort of thing, but it's not like playing a keyboard. You've got to learn a slightly new technique. So to have something which has a keyboard fitted,
like playing a mouse
where
mat.
you just slide your fingers up and down and wiggle your finger around a little bit, just to absolutely. I'm sorry, it really does appeal to me. But again, it's that price. I mean, you've really got to pay for it, and of course it all looks quite exposed as well. It's not sort of encased in. I just wonder how much gunk and muck is going to get into it especially in here, over time. But I think it's one of the loveliest looking things, and if it is in any way as expressive as like Darren says about the Touche, I think it's going to be a hit, and more and more things like that on the market.
And if it's
good, I know things that you like. Sorry, Darren, go on.
If it's built half as well, because the Touche is built really nice.
Darren, how much was the Touche? Do you remember?
Well, there's two. There's I think the expensive one with the CV out is was 340. I'm sure it was about that price, and then they do a cheaper one which doesn't have the CV.
So that's going.
So
that's going north of what, £400, 400 US. Sorry. So when you think about the Touche,
This is a fully.
It's not too bad.
Yeah. So this is a fully fledged synth, right? It's
Yes.
got everything built in. It's not a standalone controller or something like that, right?
Correct. It's a synth.
I think it's pretty, okay. Yeah, correct in that sense, because we have to think about this. It's not just about the controller things. It's also doing all the mapping. That's where a lot of the R&D stuff comes in, the sound design, because anybody can build a synth. Not anybody, but most of the guys out there can build a synth. But if you want to have multiple, control vectors, like the touch, the slide, and the wiggles and whatnots, somebody has to sit down and figure out, okay, what does each and every part of this in order to be, playable and dynamic. So there's a lot of work, put into the R&D side of things as well when it comes to not just creating the instrument, but also creating the expressiveness and the sounds that are being created, right?
Yeah.
So I could see myself getting one of these, just purely out of the expressiveness and using that as a standalone instrument and maybe just playing that, not sequencing it, right? And like Andy said, you're always wiggling with your finger when you're playing the keyboards.
You do.
Having that transcend in the real life and getting some kind of back on that would be really cool. So I could definitely see myself getting one of these. So I'll keep my eyes open for this one for sure.
So there'll be a link to expressive.com website. I mean, I've just told you the website address anyway. You can go check it out later. But yeah, I mean, I've been meaning to show you guys this, and I have just kind of been waiting for them to kind of get more deeper into the development, because when we first learned about this, it was quite early, and you had a bit of backlash from the people that had the Rolly Seaboard. I don't know. I've used the Rolly Seaboard, and I felt like it was like a wetsuit or a mouse mat. It felt, kind of. It just didn't feel
It's
like
really
a keyboard.
icky. It's like playing a synth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like playing a synth with gloves, right?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. But I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with the Rolly Seaboard, and once again, there's different folks for different strokes. It's kind of one of those sort of things. But to me, this kind of looks like more of a like Andy said, it's more of a piano or keyboardist type setup, and I can really see. I mean, I don't know if I would get the big one that they've got here. Maybe they might make a smaller version. But it's definitely cool. So keep an eye on it anyway for sure. All right, moving right along.
I think Bergie will like it.
He would, yeah.
I'll love one of those.
We will go to the next one, because this one is news, but also it's a segue. So who has seen this product before? It's been around for 9 years. This is called the Sequential Circuits, or Sequential Tempest, or Dave Smith Instruments, if you want to call it that. And the news is, it's a bit sad, and I don't mean to be morbid and sad, but they're retiring this product. And normally I don't announce products being retired, because I mean, what's the point? Well, it's a kind of a segue to the topic that we've got this for the show, and the show's topic is, as you know, gear that's flopped. And the question I want to ask you guys is, has the Tempest made that list? Is it a bit of gear that's flopped? And I'll put it to you this way: the Tempest was, for those who haven't ever owned one, if you had owned one, you would be very frustrated with the firmware because it was always promising the next update, the next update, the next update. Never quite finished, I believe. This is just my opinion. They never quite finished the firmware on this. It was never really a fully finished product. There was things that just didn't work properly, or there were things that they promised that was going to come and never did. So has this made the gear that's flopped? Is this kind of the first one off the bank? So anyway, did anyone sort of see that news? What do you guys think of when companies announce that they're discontinuing, or does it make you sad, or you just think, who cares?
It feels you. I mean, I could imagine if you got one of these, you would feel abandoned, right? You shelled out X amount of money and though for an instrument with the promise that you would get a lot of features and other stuff, and it was like you said, it was never finalized, right? So I would feel abandoned as a buyer, as a consumer, really disappointed from that sense. So, not saying that it would have flopped. I mean, obviously it flopped maybe because they didn't finalize the product per se, not because the idea initially was a bad one, right? So if they put some time and effort into it, it could have been something great, but maybe they didn't want to. I don't know what the reason is why they're ditching it, right? Because it has a good potential. Maybe just the time, there's too many products. They don't want to have a big armada of products to support, so they just want to narrow down the product portfolio and focus on a select instrument. And this one sort of ended up on a little bit on the side, right? So I would be this. It's like being an Apple buyer. If you bought a new Apple computer yesterday for like $5,000, you're going to be abandoned in 5 years' time. It's the same thing, right? Because they're going to switch. You're going to switch processors, right? It's essentially going to be a very expensive doorstop.
Watch this space. We're gonna cover that.
It just shouldn't happen. It just shouldn't happen. I mean, that machine was a lot of money when it came out.
It was big.
It was not cheap. It was a high-end thing. Okay, they were up against Electron with the Rhythma and the Octatrack with sort of direct competitors, which were machines which worked properly. I remember Ken Flux Pierce did a video about it, and you're thinking he must be sort of upping mad, really. Well, because a machine which actually in so many ways is fantastic and sounds amazing, but doesn't actually live up to what it was supposed to be. Yeah, I could imagine Ken being really quite angry right now.
Perfect segue, Andy. Perfect segue, because
Orbis will like it.
In recognition of Ken, we're going to show you Ken playing his Tempest. And other things. Well, and in big celebration to Ken, because I know Ken, he really gave the Tempest a good go. He's had it for a long time too. I mentioned before that it has been around for 9 years, the Tempest, and people were saying, and Darren, I'll get your comment in a second. I know you were going to say something. I will say though, Berg kind of picked up on it. Why they get rid of it? My theory is because they're going to bring something new out. That's my theory, and it's usually pretty spot on. Because you've heard Dave Smith talking about the stuff that's coming out already. He's already kind of let that slip. So, Darren, I was just going to get your comment. You were going to say something about the Tempest.
No, I just said Paul from Orbital really loves it, so I don't
He
suppose
does.
he'd be chuffed
But I
if
think
they'd have been in it. But then again,
Paul would know how to use it though. So, yeah, I don't think it'd be a problem
Yeah.
for Paul. Yeah. Now, having said that, I do know, guys, that if you do have a Tempest and you're an owner of a Tempest, Sequential will still support you. They've got a pretty decent sort of, if there's anything that goes wrong with their stuff, they are really, really good on the warranties and fixes and stuff like that. So, but not yet. 9 years is a pretty good innings for some products. Some products, I mean, hey, Roland, are you listening, Roland? 9 years. Can you make your products last 9 years and keep doing firmware updates for them? So, we might be picking on the Tempest here, but really, there's other people that don't even come anywhere near close. What's a good example?
You can still buy a Microkorg, and that was released in 2002.
Well, there you go. Have they done a firmware update for the Microkorg, though? Not for a while.
Does it need one?
Didn't need one. I'm egging you. All right. Anyway, the Tempest is okay. In my opinion, the Tempest is not a product that's flopped. It's definitely it was a good product, and at 9 years, it's a good inning. So there you go. That was my opinion. Right. Let's go on to the next segment. We have got to quickly get through this. The news drags on, and this is we'll call it eBay scammers, but we've also got some price watch. Now, Eddie, I've got you first up. Do you want to chat about your submissions, or do you want me to talk about them? It's up to you. You found these?
Well, I was just having I discovered the what do you call it, the Facebook Marketplace kind of thing, and was having a quick flick through, and I just thought, hang on a minute, what a Korg Monologue, 1,235 quid, with an adapter. Good job, it's got an adapter. I just thought
that's what's pushing the price up.
I do wonder when I see that, and the guy's in Worksop, so he's just down the road from where I live. I go through Worksop every day on my way to work. I could call off and pick it up. I thought, has he just typed it wrong? I don't know. I saw a few of these yesterday evening. I just thought this is very silly.
you can have mine for quarter of the price.
Yeah.
Thanks, Darren. Can I have it for a sixth of the price? I might be interested.
Yeah. But just remember what you just said then is exactly why this segment exists on my show, because everybody experiences this, and you have facepalm moments, you have throwing your synth at the screen moments. You also have moments like this, and I'm going to hopefully get this to work.
Ergonomic chairs, 4 of them. What do you want? 180. He's dreaming.
Dad, 450.
But jousting sticks. Tell him he's dreaming.
Yes, that's right. That's why we have this segment.
That's what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, isn't it?
It was. I had to show it. Hey, so this was the other one, the DW6000. I think I've shown the DW6000 before, but oh my goodness me, £123,000.
Do you know what, Ramsey? Actually, I clipped that photograph out, put it into the Facebook chat, and then when I went back onto the marketplace, that had gone. It was no longer there. So I think it must have been one of those things that someone's put it up, realised that they'd put in a massive typo, and then taken it down straight away because it had disappeared. But yeah, I just sort of thought, what? I've got one of those propped up against the wall down the hallway that's not worked for however long. Or at least I'll say it's not worked. I've not switched it on in 20 years. Yeah. That could also come into the gear flops section, the DW6000.
It could, yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Korg flopped it themselves. But...
Yeah, they did flop it. Korg are in there, don't worry. All right. And I actually did have this one. I can't remember if I've shown this or not because it's been sitting in my folder.
Looks like it's been sitting in your garage there, Ramsey.
It's not mine.
In the garage underneath all the cabinets.
I know I have some dust problems, but I don't have this dust problem. This is like, what is this, from the Sahara Desert? I don't know where this is from. but it's pretty
That's
bad.
the restoration project.
It's pretty bad.
But he clearly states that it still works, right? So it should be worth a little bit, maybe $1.
Sometimes I miss
Still works.
segues.
Yeah.
Do you guys,
Yeah, but Ollie,
did you
would
guys
you
see
want to
that
switch
video?
that on?
You guys seen that video recently with that
Yeah.
in Thailand where that lady's hosing down the DX7? Well, no, it was a Roland D50, wasn't it? It was a Roland D50, and she's hosing down the D50. I can just imagine someone hosing that one down to get the dust off.
Oh dear. There are some dangerous tangents here which we could go down. We've got to be careful.
I've got to show it again.
Getting hosed off by a Thai lady. Where are you going with that, Ramsey?
You've come up with that on your own. Hang on, there it is. There.
Oh, have I? Oh, is it my mind at work? Is it?
It is, mate. It is. I'm not joining you on that one. That is just insane, isn't it? Hey, but $100 might be good for an EMX. What is it? EMX one. I can't read that upside down. EMX 150. Yeah, EMX 150.
150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually weren't
Two
too
of those
bad.
channels might work.
They weren't too bad. I've got one more, I believe. Let's see if this works. Boom. There we go. It did work. This is £400 for a Focusrite Platinum Compounder. This is kind of, not too bad, but I mean, you wouldn't pay £400 for this. You'd probably pay £50, £100 maybe. So this is just kind of what comes across the desk. So Andy submitted a couple this week, and these are kind of what pops up in my feed. So yeah, there you go. Price watch.
That's not unreasonable. That one. I mean, there's I think I mentioned a week ago about Focusrite. I got the name of the master company wrong. They're not part of the Behringer Group. They're part of same master company as Novation.
Yes.
But Focusrite used to make and still do make some pretty high-end gear, and those sort of analog compressors are still things that a lot of people want in their rack because they do sound different. They do add a colour to your sound. The digital compression just doesn't seem to.
Someone will buy that.
I've got no experience with any of these these fancy plugins that exist these days. I don't know about that, but certainly the analog ones. I mean, I do quite like the idea of analog compressors. You see, there we are.
That's all right. Someone will buy it. That's for sure. Okay, moving right along, we've got the next segment coming up, and that is gear that flopped, which is this gear that flopped. There's my little graphic for it. my cheesy graphic. Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll start off, I think, with the one that kind of got me going, which is the graphic that you saw, which is this one. So this is the Akai Synth Station 49. I don't know if you guys remember this. This is kind of around, I think I'm guessing around 2012, somewhere around there. And the whole thing about this was, okay, so that's a controller, and then you put the iPad in, and it's got, in that little sort of L-shaped bracket where the iPad is slotted in, it's got the iPad connector already in, the old style iPad connector, the very first one they brought out. And it actually comes with an iPad app as well. Now, they did actually, have that iPad app running for a while. But they didn't, the whole reason why this one was on the Music Radar article that I saw during the week. And the reason why it flopped is because they just didn't sell very many of them. So there's another photo of it for you. There's the marketing photo.
Yeah.
So
I think the problem here is why this product like this flop is because they're dependent on the form factor of a product from a different vendor, right?
Yeah.
So they have like a port that they need to slide into. It's an iPad, and you guys know how often Apple changes the form factor and ins and outs and takes away ports and removes ports and changes ports on their products, right? So if you want to get one of these, you need to have a universal, connecting standard, right? Rather than having the USB Apple stuff that they had back in the day, right? These wide, not non-USB, non-Lightning, these wider contact that they had back in the day. So anything that's dependent on a different vendor, when you do an instrument like that, will most probably flop in a couple of years' time when Apple decides to change their product line, right? So this is probably the reason why we didn't see this live too long.
Yeah. So mistake number one, if you're watching manufacturers, don't rely on another manufacturer. But there's another reason why it didn't work, and we'll just bring the graphic up again. The other reason why it didn't work was because you only could get the one controller for it, so you were kind of stuck with that one controller. There wasn't any other options, I don't believe. And at the same time, the iPad app itself was very limited. So in terms of if you were trying to compare it to what your DAW could do in 2012, it was, it really let a lot of people down. So that was, the other reason. So there were internal reasons and external reasons why this one flopped. So I thought we'd start off with a synthy one. Now, I'm not going to all do synthy ones because I want you guys to have a bit of fun with this. Now, that's kind of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about gear that's flopped. So you get the idea. It doesn't have to be something you've owned. It can be something that you've got an opinion about. In chat, I want you to let me know if you've got one that you want me to talk about, and hopefully we get time to talk about it. Make sure you tag my name so that it highlights my name in the chat too. So we'll keep going with that. Now, I want to do, while we're waiting for the chatties to bring one up, guys, I do want to show you this one, which was also on the Music Radars article. I just really like the look of this. It's actually what attracted me to it. This is by Creative, which I believe took over in Sonic, Emu, and all those sort of companies. And they have this Prodi Keys product. And the whole idea with this, these little mini keys, this is kind of like similar size keys to what's on like a key step, similar size to that. So the whole idea with this is that you've got your MIDI controller and you've got your keyboard all built in one. But can you guys work out what the major design flaw with this is? Can anyone pick it out? Why did this flop?
Stupid mod wheels.
No, it wasn't the mod wheels. Anyone want to guess? I'll give you 1 second. Okay, where do you put your palms? When you type on your keyboard,
but
where do you put your palms?
but this one did have a palm rest, right? You could put on top of the keys, didn't it?
It was just the problem with it.
Remember.
It did have a palm rest, but you had to put it over the top. But the problem with it is that if you wanted to move the keyboard out of the way, it was always in front of the keyboard, the piano keyboard.
Yeah.
So it just really, it couldn't tuck it under. You know what I mean? They needed to make it so it could tuck under or it could disconnect, maybe modular or something like that. So design flaw. Anyway, that's kind of the idea. Hopefully you guys are kind of getting the idea. All right, it doesn't have to be synth related. It can.
Rance.
Yeah.
I just wanna highlight one thing that ACO had said in the chat channel. Mm-hmm. One of the best flops ever was actually the TB303, right?
Yes,
because when Roland
correct.
created it back in the day, it didn't, meet the market, and that then later became a cult icon, right? So you could say that it's a flop gone good, right?
Yeah.
So maybe one of these flopped items or instruments somewhere in the future will become, very sought after by acid musicians or whatever, right? So maybe you want to hamster one of these keys.
You never know.
Sometime in the future,
you never know. I could be starting
worth a lot of money.
We could be starting some sort of cult thing by showing these products as flops. You never know. Someone right now is Googling the Creative Prodi Keys right now, see if they can find one on eBay, because they thought, oh my God, that looks awesome. I'm going to do a concert and
prices will go up.
and chat on Discord at the same time. All right, now, I just thought this is just a bit of fun. So I'm just going to run through a couple of really, really quick ones to show you outside of the synth industry where you've had products that flopped. So you've got the Sony Betamax. This is VHS, obviously got the gong, and Beta didn't really make it. So there's that one. You had Google Glasses. That never really happened, did it? That one's a good one, Google Glasses. What about this one from Samsung? The Samsung Note 7, yes, the one that caught on fire in your pocket. Samsung did manage to get themselves out of the poo with that. I don't know how. They must have had a pretty deep pocket to do that. What about this one, though? Oh, this one's everybody's favourite. Hey, Windows Vista. Didn't everybody love Windows Vista?
That's why I went to Mac.
So that I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a feeling that it's not just synth products But this one's for Mr. Mac, and you guys are probably wondering why hasn't Rand shown the Akai Rhythm Woof? Why hasn't he shown it yet? I mean, the Timberwolf should probably be there as well. Did it flop? Well, okay, so I'm not saying I didn't like this product, okay? I'm not saying that I probably would buy one if there was one available. But it flopped in the eyes of Akai. It flopped in the eyes of Akai because they didn't sell as many as they liked. They actually... the problem, you guys remember the first time they marketed this thing, the poor guy that was on the videos, that was the first flop choice, as having him show maybe it was like getting Rands to show since you wouldn't get me. They got this other guy, I think his name was Dan. He got absolutely hammered. So they didn't have a very good start with the marketing stuff, and then the product itself kind of had some design flaws as well, didn't it? It went out of tune. It had the Timberwolf was the other one. It only had an AR.
Have you played with them?
Yes, yes.
Have you actually, yeah, I mean, they
They're actually
don't
not
actually
bad.
sound. They don't sound too bad. The drums are okay. The synth is a bit weedy, but it actually the drums sound okay. One of the problems is that all those knobs, they just don't really do anything. They don't really do very much at all. I mean, the Timberwolf has been mentioned. I mean, again, it's just they needed to just tweak it a little bit, and it would have been something wonderful. I don't know. They just weren't thought through enough. I don't think those boxes.
Yeah,
They fall short.
It was probably Akai trying to get into that analog revolution that was happening at the time. There was an analog revolution, and Akai probably wanted to say, right,
Yeah.
we used to make analog synths, so we're still here, and they brought them
Yeah, and
out.
Volkers are too fiddly. Volkers are too small and too fiddly, and we can make a bigger one, bigger knobs on, and the Volkers just turn around and stick two fingers up at Akai and say, "Just watch us go, because
right.
we've got it right and you haven't." Well,
I gotta keep going, Andy, because we've got heaps more. We have heaps more. This one, the Roland D2.
What?
Yes.
Never even heard of that.
Never heard of it? Okay. So let me tell you about
Yes,
the
it
Roland D2.
It's like a Roland. Is it like a Roland Chaos Pad or something?
Okay, so what this is, it's 64 voice polyphony, 8-part multi-timbral.
Wow.
It's like a MC505 into a little pad sort of kind of. Look at the color scheme on it, orange. Like
I think that's
someone's
probably what killed it.
someone spilled a can of Fanta on that.
It
came
looks
out
like
in
a primary school
2001.
kid's lunchbox.
Yep.
Put your sandwiches in it.
And I can't remember how much they said it was, but yeah, it kind of follows the MC505 909 sort of thing. That product didn't sell very well. Oh, you guys have never heard of it. So there you go. There's the first one. All right, next one is the Beat Thang. You guys heard of this thing? The Beat
What
Thang?
is that?
It's by a company called
It
Beat
looks like a
Never.
game controller.
Gangs. It was £800, this thing, and it
Darth Vader's
was
PlayStation, isn't it?
yeah. It had massive.
Are you
operating-
talking 800 pounds? 800 pounds as in money or weight?
Yeah.
It looks really heavy.
No, as in money. It had the reason why this thing failed. It actually looked promising. It was like a drum machine type sequencer type thing, right? But it had massive operating system problems where it literally just crashed. It had problems with notes disappearing out of the sequence. It was awesome in terms of how badly they programmed this thing. So it literally just went off the market because it just completely flopped. So there you go, Beat Thing. All right, one more. Here we go. Roland EG. Yeah, Roland,
Oh.
getting a nice go here. The EG 101. Who's got one of
I
these?
remember this.
You guys remember this thing?
No, I was going to buy one years ago.
Yeah. It's 1999, and you've just bought yourself a synth with two massive speakers in it. Hey, Akai NPC Live 2.
It just don't. I messed
Let him
about with
naughty
one
man,
in the
Lee.
shop, and I was thinking, it's actually not a bad sounding synth in a way.
49 keys, 448 presets, 24 voices, 11-part multi-timbral. It's got 12 drum kits. and it has that famous Roland RPS, which is those kind of little drum loop things that they had. Once again, another
Wasn't it like a
product that bounced off of the MC505.
yeah?
Yeah,
isn't it
real
like
time
an
tracing, wasn't it? I don't know.
D-beam. Look at the big D-beam up
MC303
top.
with a keyboard.
Yeah, it's like Rand says, MCL505 with a keyboard stuck to it, basically, and then some speakers for
Yep.
well, don't know what for.
So they didn't sell very many of these. I don't know why. But anyway, now, Andy, you actually asked
So
me...
you can hear it, Darren. So you can hear it.
Andy, you asked me to do this one, but I already had it on my list. This is Korg's flop. The famous 707, yes. This was Korg's attempt at doing an entry-level FM synth. It came out in 1987, yes. You are looking at an 80s synth. It actually looks more 90s, doesn't it? It actually does look quite modern for an 80s synth, I have to
It's
admit.
a nice design, but it was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. It had 8 voices polyphony, digital FM, of course, 49 keys, 100 memory patches, MIDI control, but it completely was unusable in terms of programming, and you literally were just stuck with the really bad, cheesy patches. But apparently one Atkins
Was that out
used it.
before the Korg?
Yes.
Was that out before the Korg prophecy?
Well, 87, yeah, it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
87, yeah.
A few years before.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say it looks very
You
similar.
can see
doesn't it?
where they were
Similar.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, Korg did make it. Who else? Okay, so Andrew, as in the guy that not in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, Andy, different Andrew, he wanted me to mention the Zoom Arc. Now, he didn't say a lot about this, but he went to NAMM when they released this, and he literally walked out when they were demoing it because it just was not doing what they were saying it was going to do. They couldn't show what they were saying it was going to do. Now, I believe you can still
Do you
buy
think-
these.
Yeah, you can. I think they built it and then said, "I don't think it's going to work, but we've got to try and sell it somehow."
Well, I thought it was a great idea.
You got to get our money back. We got to get our money back.
Yeah.
Go out there, everybody, and sell it to
Oh,
anyone.
man.
They actually sent the R&D department of this product to NAMM because they said, if you don't sell any of these, you've lost your job. There we go. Okay, so now, Andy, you've got a couple that you wanted to chuck in. So we'll start with this one, the Prophet 3000. Andy, I'll let you tell the story about this.
It's a Nintendo.
It's yeah. I mean, the Prophet 2000 and 2002 samplers had been quite successful, and they were well thought of. And I think Sequential had tried to up their game and released the Prophet 3000 and around the same time the Studio 440 sort of Groovebox. I think trying to. I don't know if Akai had released the original MPC at that point, but it cost them so much in research and particularly the development of it that these two products, the Prophet 3000 and the Studio 440, put Sequential out of business because they didn't quite get it right. There'll probably be some people out there who've got these who love them and say that they sound fantastic and are amazing things. Particularly the Studio 440, I think, is one of those boxes which is quite sought after by some guys. But it's a shame because it flopped because it never really worked properly, and they were rushed to market before they were fully developed. Have we sort of touched on this already with like say perhaps the Tempest?
Yep.
You know,
Fine company.
the Sequential have been there before, and they're a shame because they should have been. And I suppose if they'd got it right, they might have had a big hit on their hands. But you know, people were not willing to shell out the sort of money that these things cost back in the late 80s, when they could buy the Akais, which would work and do the job that they needed them to do. And those two machines, I think, are they're a sadness really, because they brought about the demise at that time of one of the most influential companies that's ever
It did.
been. Really.
Yeah, they went quite after that.
So
Well,
it's-
Yamaha took them over, didn't they?
it's-
So this one
they
here,
did, and that was the end.
let me just quickly tell you what was good about it or not so good about it. It was an 8-voice polyphony digital synth. Had a sampler in it, 48
Sampler.
kilohertz.
It's basically a sampler. really.
Basically a sampler, 16-bit. It had MIDI and SCSI. So the SCSI interface on it was a bit expensive, which was probably one of the problems with it. And like you said, they never really sort of polished the operating system on it. So there's that one. And the other one that you mentioned was the Studio 440, which is another sampler. This one's a 12-bit. So this one was a bit... Actually, I think this was... this was 12-bit. So this one was a bit older, wasn't it? This one... Same year, though, apparently.
Did that one come first? Okay.
I think it might have come first. Still 8 voices, 12-bit. Only had 512K of memory. Didn't have a little floppy drive in it, I think, too. Oh, yeah, it's in the picture, yeah.
Going at the front.
Now, the sequencer on this was apparently pretty good. So I believe the good thing that came out of this was the sequencer. And I believe it's gone on to being used in some of their more modern products. So it was an 8-track, 50,000 note with adjustable swing and a whole bunch more. And it did have full MIDI implementation. Anything sequential by then had pretty good MIDI. So that leads us to my last one that Andy mentioned. Andy, do you want to talk about this one? This is the Technics.
Yeah.
What is it again? WSA modeling synth.
WSA1.
SX-WSA1.
Yamaha had released their first sort of modelling synths, the VL1 for about £3,000, and it played 2 notes, and a number of other companies were releasing things like that at the time, and then Technics brought that out, and it ought to have been like a fantastic machine. On paper, you'd think, wow, this is everything that we've been waiting for, stunning, it's going to be great, and nothing ever happened. You saw that it came out, it was reviewed. I saw it in a shop once. I had a play with it. Didn't really think much to it when I played it. And it wasn't cheap. I mean, I can't remember the actual selling price. It was around the sort of £2,000 mark or something like that, way back in sort of the late 1980s. But on paper, it should have been everything that a lot of musicians were wanting, and it just never really happened. There were a few keyboards like that at the time. I was thinking about this again. There was a synth from Peavey which had a lot of common ground with the Ensoniq synths. It was there, it appeared, it disappeared, and you think, well, what happened to them? What happened to them? Where did that thing actually go?
Well,
I suppose a lot of the gubbins that was in it went into their sort of home keyboard things, which is what they were really known for.
Yeah.
Technics weren't really known for professional studio grade sort of synthesizers, but it's one of those ones that's been in the back of my mind all the time. I wonder what happened to that. I wonder where it went to. I wonder if I ever see one again. Whether I don't know. It's just
there's people that have got them, Andy. But the more I believe the more popular version of it was the rack mounted version, and I'll see if I can dig up a photo of the rack mounted version.
I didn't even realize there was one.
Yeah. And it was the WSA1R. But yeah, physical modelling...
Geosynth's got one, Jamie.
Jamie's got one. There you go. Physical modelling is really popular with a lot of synth guys and girls.
Has Jamie just said he's got one? Has he actually got one
Yep.
at the moment as we speak? Has he got one of those? Cool, Jamie, dig it out and do a thing on it, please. I'd love to know.
I've got one sitting in a flight case, he said. Yeah, there you go. All right. Now, what we're going to do now, just really, really quick, is we're going to roll the end of main show stinger. I don't want you guys to go anywhere because this is just for people who are watching the replay. So without further ado, let's roll that. And what we'll do is just with everyone who's here on the call, just wave goodbye to our main show audience. We aren't going anywhere for those who are watching live right now. I'm going to hit this.
See you, folks.